So today we are talking about the basic formulas or basic formulas and formulas in general in Excel. Well, I know I had this discussion with other people before. These There is a difference between a function and a formula. So a function is like the basic name of it in general, and the formula is when you use it and apply um, use it, for example, in combination with other things and so on and so on. So I know that there's difference, but I will, for simplification, use function and formulas as a synonym here in this course. So, but you know there's a difference between function and formulas. So for the formulas, there's a little bit of help if you don't know the formulas by heart. At someday you need to know formulas by heart. It will make things easier. But first, there's the formula menu where all formulas are sorted by category. This can help you if you want to take a look at them sorted by category. And there's also the so-called formula assistance. The assistance appears when you're entering a formula, and you can either click on these formulas. So here, then it will get a blue and underlined so that there's a link to the Microsoft Help section there, or you also see where in the formula you are. This is the bold part. Also, if you then close it with a comma or semicolon, you're in the next part, and this will get bold. So you see every time where you are, and everything in edge brackets is optional. Although I have to say, with the newest formulas, they aren't so clear with optionality. But for this course part, you can say when something is in edge brackets, it's optional. So that was the um, first thing about formulas. Then formulas in general. Formulas can be combined and nested within each other. We will do that a little bit later, but that you know it, the nesting thing is like very powerful if you know how to do that. You can enter absolute values in formulas, but you shouldn't, or you can refer to a cell. And referencing or tracing is done by the method we learned before. And why you shouldn't put absolute values in a formula, because if there is an update or something like this, the formula will not update automatically when you don't go right into the formula and update the absolute value there. So then make a cell and where you put in the value and reference to that cell, and not enter absolute values in formulas. Formulas are always entered with an equal sign at the start. There are also some guys doing it with like a plus. This is also possible, but most guys start with an equal sign. Yeah, and although there's a formula behind it, you will only see the result displayed in the worksheet, and you need to go into the input bar to see the formula, the underlying formula, resulting in the result. Yeah, so you input a formula and then there's a result, and only this result will be displayed in the table. You can also enter characters as plus, minus, multiplication sign, dividing sign, larger, equal, smaller, or unequal. So this is the unequal sign here, and yeah. Then first we start with a few easy formulas, the arithmetic formulas, so like calculation things. There's the round down formula, and the round down formula rounds down a number to the number of digits, so like the decimal places. So if you have, for example, the number 3.14159, so like the first number digits of p, and you write round down this number, comma 3, then it will be rounded down to the third decimal place. You can also do this with round up. This is like the same, but then this is rounded up. You can also do this with a normal rounding. So like then it will be rounded to the number of digits accordingly to the rounding rules. For example, here 3.1415 will be rounded with 3 decimal places to 3.142, and 3.1414 with 3 decimal places will be rounded down to 3.141. You can also round before the decimal point. If you want, for example, round number 267 2 places before the decimal point, you need to write round 267 or a reference to the cell where this number is in, and then comma -2, and it will be rounded to 300. If you round something, you should pay attention, because normally when you calculate with a link to with a reference to a cell, Excel normally calculates with all the decimal places and exactly. But when you're referring to a rounded cell, the rounded number is used, and this can lead therefore to inaccurate calculations. You should therefore only round the so-called final values, so values which you no longer use in further calculations, and you should leave the intermediate values unrounded. So, and you then can apply, for example, formatting settings when you want to have these numbers displayed differently. So, for example, 3.67 is like with a different setting. It's 4. So here, with the optional formatting setting, it's 4. Or if you round it with 0 decimal places, so like to the whole number, it's also 4. But if you then calculate with the unrounded number and to the power of 2, this will be a 13.5 around. But if you calculate with the rounded number, so like 4 to the power of 2, it will be 16. So you see, there can be a huge difference in between those numbers if you calculate with rounded numbers rather than with the exact values. So the ABS function returns the absolute value of a number, so negative numbers will become positive numbers and positive numbers stay positive. So like ABS2 outputs 2 and ABS -2 outputs also 2. The sum function adds values, so you can, for example, select all the single cells if you want to have a sum, but you shouldn't do that. You should use the sum function to sum up the values, for example, of a whole range. And the product function multiplies values, for example, multiplies all the numbers of a certain range with each other. Let's take a look at how this could look in Excel. So we will first start with a few easy functions here. For example, making summing these up, or calculating the difference between those cells, multiplying those cells. You see, I only take the reference to those cells, and here you see there is a formula behind it, but it will only show the value then here in the table. Here, dividing, looking if it's larger or smaller, and this will hand out the so-called true-false values. So like if something is true, so like 2000 is larger than 82, it will hand out true. But if something is wrong, for example, 2000 isn't 82, it will hand out false. You see, you can do a lot of things here. Larger or equal, and smaller or equal. And here you can see we've done a lot of things, and we can also track all those functions down to calculate them. So, and then you can here to sum, for example, the numbers of students up, or the whole numbers here, or this here. You can do something like, oh, I will select this cell, a plus in between, then the next cell, and a plus in between, and so on and so on. And you also get the result there, but you can also use like the sum function, select all those values here, enter it, and it will be the same result. So never sum with plus, or not every time sum with plus, use the sum function. You can also do the product here, and this will multiply all the numbers here in between. You see it's the same result as this here. We need to track this down because it can't see where adjacent ending is. Here, and here we come to rounding. We want to round down this number to like 2 integers, round up to like 2 decimal places, round accordingly. If we don't input anything here, this is normally an optional thing. Oh no, it isn't optional, sorry. But if we put input, for example, 0, it will not be rounded down. But if we input, for example, -1, it will round to 50 because 45 will get rounded to 50. And this is ABS, so absolute value of 234 gives out minus 234 gives out 234. So this was the first about arithmetic formulas, and we now come to the, I call them statistics and counting cells formulas or functions, more or less. There's the average function, which calculates the average, so the arithmetic mean of an range. So you only input write down average, then select the range of numbers, or input the numbers different there into the formula, and you will get the average of all those numbers in the range. Median calculates the median, so the number where 50% of all the values are greater and 50% of all the values are smaller. And it works the same as average, that you input a range of underlying cells or input the numbers there into the formula. Count counts the number of cells that contains numbers. Sounds complicated, but we will see that it's quite easy. And you also, for example, select a cell range. And count A counts the number of so-called non-empty cells. So regardless of their content, it counts the number of non-empty cells, and you also only need to select a certain range here. So count counts numbers, and count A counts the number of non-empty cells, even if there is text inside these cells. So let's show this in our Excel file. So if we want to calculate the average of those numbers here, we select the range here accordingly, and we can also track this to the right. So this is the average of those values here. You see, as we talked about this before, these are dynamic references. Median of those values, counting of those values. So here, count of those will be different than count A of those cells, because this also counts here the header where there is text in, and count only counts the value at the cells with numbers in. So as you saw, this was quite easy. The formulas are not that complicated. But when it can be complicated, but this is what makes Excel so powerful, is the so-called nesting. Formulas can be nested as you wish, basically. For example, you can sum up the sum of two products. There you only write the sum function down, take the product as an argument for the sum function, and then it will gives you this as a result. Or you can there or here you see the examples. You can nest it as you wish, but you always should pay attention to this. All the brackets should be closed correctly or stay open if you need those arguments later, and all required formula components should be filled in. So we make this to make things easy. We will do the nesting here. For example, we want to have the rounded average of those numbers and rounded to the two places before the comma. So I write down round, and now I need to input the numbers. So like the average of those values. Close here, close the here this function. Then I need the delimiter to get into the next argument. And now I need to input -2 because I want to have this rounded. And you see, without the round function, I would have like 1140 around, and with rounding I get 1100. And you see, you can nest this, you can also put in other formulas, calculate or add this to a different other value, and so on and so on. You can nest this as you wish. You can nest this nest this, for example, that you take the whole space up here. So, and with this, we are at the end of this course part. I will upload also a training exercise for those formulas you've learned here, and the next video will be about a solution for this exercise. Thank you for your attention.